Wolf Props, and today we're gonna have some fun experimenting with the airbrush on maybe figuring out the colors for this little energy shield. I did just a little bit of playing around earlier, and this was the results of that. Just trying to get some sort of a energy field looking orange-ish color. So we'll play around with it, see what we come up with. The nice thing is we can always coat over it and layer it. And if we don't like the way it's going, we can reprime it and try again. No big deal. So to start out, I'm going to use my little mix. Let's see if I can get that in here. There we go. It's got water, rubbing alcohol, which is what is it? 91% isopropyl alcohol, and then a little bit of glycerin. Yeah. So mostly water, a little bit of the isopropyl, and just a few drops of glycerin. That's really about it. I'm hoping I can get my other computer to pull up here and see if I can be able to respond on there. So we are going to start with a little sample, kind of little paint dish. And I'm going to put a little bit in here. All right, it's a fair amount in there actually. And I did make a lid for it, 3D printed a lid for it. I'll try to get those files posted. I think they're posted now, I just haven't, I'll see if I can link them in the description. So, first color I'm going to start with is, this is just some hobby store jack-o'-lantern orange. I'm shaking this up. I'll put a fair amount in there. You can see there's some at the bottom there. And I'm going to use end of a paintbrush to stir this up. Stir it up real good. And this is still going to be fairly watery, but that's okay because we're going to add some more paint colors to it. Get it stirred really well. Yep, that's pretty watery. And the next color, so that was jack-o'-lantern orange. I'm going to use a sunny day yellow. Shake that up a little bit. Oh, I take that back. Actually, the one I used was primary yellow, so let me shake that one up. I'm actually running a little bit low on this one. We may have to substitute. There we go. And we got a little bit of primary yellow in there. I'll do the same thing and mix that one up. And I mentioned we're going to layer this, so I'm going to mix this paint in and give this thing just a light coating with this before we move on to the next color. And when the next color is actually going to just be blended in with all this. So my first step, once I get this mixed, it's going to be to see if I've got the right amount of paint to thinner. It might work. That yellow might be giving us a little bit of trouble if it starts clogging the nozzle, because it looks like it had some flakes in there. But we'll give it a shot. We can always redo it if we have to. So, my paint cup on here, and the cap that I made, because for some reason this kit didn't come with a cap for that. And I got to kick on my compressor, so hopefully it won't be super loud. But I need to kick it on. And grab a test piece of paper. Just kind of priming it. That's a pretty cool color. We'll give that a shot. Alright. If I can give you guys the best view here. Let's do a little test shot on the back side. Okay, seems to work. And I've got my pressure up a little bit high, but I just wanted to make sure everything's going to flow okay. That's alright, looks like it's doing pretty good. And I'm shooting this from about, I don't know, 3-4 inches away. I'm trying not to put it on too heavy because it'll dry pretty quick, so I can always layer over it. Well, tickle in my throat, sorry about that. It's starting to get a nice color there. Do a nice even strokes as I paint this, just like you would with, you know, any other rattle can or spray gun. Nice light coating so we don't get any drips. This almost just gives us a nice base color to work with as we experiment too. Better than gray. Just about got a full coat on there. Let's see, that dries just about instantaneously when it hits there, as long as I keep the coat pretty light. I'm getting this very edge now. I may actually be running out of paint in here. Let's find out. Yeah, it's getting low. So we've used a fair amount getting this base coat on there. Let's see if I can pick this back up without knocking it over. There we go. You can see the difference between having a couple of coats and one coat. Makes a huge difference. And I'm pretty sure that this is now out of paint, so we can work on the next color choice that we want to do here. And I'm just going to kind of make this up as I go, because I really have no idea what I want to add next, except for maybe a little bit of red into it. I've got a red that's kind of almost pinkish that I think will work pretty nicely. So I need to add some more of my thinner. fill that back up about where we were. Then we're going to put some more orange. Give that a good shake. Yeah, I'm going to mix that up and see what we're working with. Still pretty thin, so it's ready for another color. And this time maybe I'll put in a little of that Sunny Day since I was running out of primary yellow, just to kind of help brighten it up a bit. And then I'm also going to add let's see, True Red, just a tiny little bit. Maybe a drop of Dragon Fruit, which is a pinkish color. There we go. Now I want to mix all that up again. And if we don't like the color, well, I can always rinse this out and try something else. It almost looks peach to me. I can spray some on some paper and find out what it actually looks like when it's laid down. Prime it with this, so I'm basically going to spray out the leftover of the orange. Purge all that out of there. Oh, starting to get a color change, so let's see what this looks like. It's got kind of an interesting color to it. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more orange in it. Bring it back to an orange better. Fair amount of orange, so I may have to add some thinner to it again. Let's see what this ends up like. Mix, mix, mix. Gotta mix it really well. Kind of spilling a little bit because I'm trying to do this in an awkward position, but we'll see. And we're gonna layer this quite a bit, so we'll see what happens. Cap on since this is pretty full now. Purge some of this again so I get a color change. Yeah. I don't know how well the colors are going to read from me to you, but that still has a bit of a peachish tone to it. It's not terrible though. I'm just not quite sure that's the color I'm looking for. But we can do an experiment and see how well that blends in on the back. See what kind of effect this has. Try a little bit more here. Now we could just try brushing a little bit of it in there just to see. Well, it's definitely an interesting shade. Kind of gives it a little bit of a cool effect with the orange underneath it, so maybe I'll go ahead and give that a little bit more of a coating. Maybe we can even do the rings in slightly different tones. Alright, that's got kind of a neat effect to it. So we'll check our paint and see if we've got enough room to add some more. Yeah, we've used up a little bit. So I'm going to have to add just a little bit more of the thinner because I know it's going to need it. And let's try, let's see, I've got plenty of colors to choose from here. Maybe try some more red, so we can darken it up. Let's blend that in. If you watch as I'm stirring it, definitely did a color shift there. And we'll put my cap back on. Purge it out again. Depending on how well you stir, sometimes it takes a little bit more to purge it. I would say it needs a little bit more thinner in there. I added a fair amount of paint. It's just not quite spraying right yet. Now we're getting really full. All right, we're mixed. Recap. And purge a little bit of yellow. There we go, now it's starting to really come through. Now with my pressure up so high, I'm getting a little bit of splatter, but I can either turn that down or see if we can utilize that splatter to our benefit. Let's just try it. It's not really showing up as splatter on here. Set that here and see what it looks like. Sometimes just step back from it and take a good look. Maybe I'll pull up on my other screen over here and see if I can get some reference images to see what direction we need to take it. Pull up an image or two, and it does have quite a bit of that red shift to it with the orange, so we might be on the right path. So I'll hit just another little bit with this. The edges here real well too. blew my little foam piece away. So this side's dry. I can actually let the other side dry there. I'm pretty pleased with how the color's going so far. I might want to now do some real quick shots over the whole thing with a more concentrated orange and then maybe another more concentrated red. Really build up the layers here, and as I'm spraying I'm trying to change which details get what concentration of different colors, and to clean this out a little bit now. Wipe that down really well here. So it's at least somewhat cleaned out. And I'm just going to purge the paint out of here too. Alright, so that was definitely a more red than orange color, even though it had plenty of both. So now we're going to go back to having mostly orange again. Let's see what details we want to maybe shoot that into. Hi, Kobe Steve. All right. Checking out my next color choice here. I want to see what this one looks like, so I'm putting a little bit on a piece of paper. It's a very red there. So that might be what I add just a dab to. Let's go back to the jack-o'-lantern orange. That was a good color. Okay. Some in there. They're stirred up again. Okay. Now we'll add some of that red. Couple of drops. And that just darkened it up nicely. Let's see how that sprays real quick. And just like with the rest, I need to purge some of that out. Get rid of all that old color. There's the old red there coming out. Okay, it's starting to shift a bit. It's a little bit thick yet, or a little thin yet. So we can add in some more orange. Hopefully that's not too much. There we go. Cap back on. And grab a different sheet of paper here. Purge it a little bit, and it's starting to look a little better. Oh yeah, that's better. Make sure my tip is cleaned. All right, so this is gonna be a more orange shade again. Let's see if we can maybe even dial back on the pressure now. As we start to do more detailed work on it. All right. Let's see if I can get this in focus for you. Got a neat effect to it. Continue that around then. Make sure I got the paint still flowing here. Yep, okay. Let's see, I might have to kick my pressure up a little bit more. Keeps wanting to clog up a bit on me. Try some more red. Or possibly yellow. Let's try some yellow. About 3 drops of yellow. Just kind of softened it up a bit more. Spreading that out again. Yeah, let's try that. Drop my cap there. Okay. I think the center is a little too highlighted maybe. And let's see what this does. That's got a nice color to it. See if we can use this one to blend everything back a bit. The middle almost kind of turned pink there. Make sure. See how it ends up blending. Oh yeah, there we go. It's covering better now. I'll go back over another time with maybe even more orange to it. Let's see what other oranges I have here. Let's see if this one's even still good. Nope. That one's no good. I may end up buying some more oranges just to have some different options. I don't think I've got a regular orange at all. Maybe add a little bit of a blue tint to this to see what it does too. Grab one of those from my selection. Ooh, an ocean blue. It's all experimental anyway, so let's try it. I am kind of talking quietly just because I've got kids asleep here. I don't want to be too loud. Well, the blue didn't really shift it much yet. Maybe I might need a little bit more. Give it some good shakes there. Try that. Might have to do just some old school mixing of primary colors to get what I want. Oh, it shifted too much to the blue. I may have to just restart my color on this one. Then it turned almost brown. I do not want brown. Not for this project. I'm going to clean the cup out here, rinse it out, and make a new color. Okay, that's cleaned out fairly well. Just going to purge out the rest of its paint. Clean the brush out a little bit here. I got a handy tool here for cleaning. Just trying to basically reset my color. Alright, let me move this out of your way. Move this one now. go grab some primary colors here. See if I can get this yellow to work. Well, red and orange, or red and yellow. I don't know if I'll have enough yellow to do this or not. It's quite pinkish. Uh-oh. I have dripped on the shield. Kind of came flying out of that yellow. Let's see if I can get it out of there. Yeah. I ended up taking it back down to primer a little bit, but that's alright. Maybe I can do that more of it on the surface here and see if it'll accept color a little bit differently as we go. I'm not going to try to wipe it out of the details, just off the surface. It's all an experiment. Yeah, there's a little bit of the thinner on this rag, which is why it's working to do this. This might turn out alright. We might have to try a little bit more here. Might be a nice clean spot on it. There we go. Let's see what this does. Alright, now we can maybe try our new color on top of that and see what it does. We mix it just a little bit more because that's kind of where I stopped. It's in the mixing phase. I might bring that back to red a bit more too. That yellow was pretty much done. It seems a bit thick yet, so I'll top it off. Might have to dump just a tiny little bit out of there. Make some room for thinner. Okay, I think that still needs to be stirred up a little bit. There we go. Cap back on. Paint gun. And grab a fresh sheet of paper so we can see what exactly we're accomplishing. Oh, that should be interesting looking. It's got a pretty neat effect to it, but I think I might be, yeah, I'm a bit too thick yet on the paint. Just keeps clogging up on me. I'm gonna stir this in. Chances are I'll end up just going back and repainting this whole thing anyways, but this is just some experimenting to see what colors I like, what works, what doesn't work. Throw some of this out again. So full it's even dripping past the cap. Wipe that up. I'm just going to dump a tiny little bit out of here. This is not quite as full now. Let's see if we can go down on my pressure again. Just a little over 20. Let's hope I'm thinned out enough for that. Just a little bit more. You gotta get it just right for lower pressure. And I'm really new to all this, so I'm still learning. I think that made a decent difference there. I'm just trying to trim out these little lines here. See if I can steady myself. I have to kick my pressure up just a bit more. There we go. A little better. I'm going quiet as I concentrate on here. Well, I might stop it there for now. Let's see how I like it after it completely dries and I have a chance to think about it, and always highlight the back, I guess, a bit. Good enough for now. Got an interesting look to it. We'll see maybe even how it matches the rest of the model before I do anything more. Let's just the red a little bit more here. Okay. For the time being, we'll call that good. Alright, till next time on Bad Wolf Props, I'll see you guys later.